It's magic hour here in the Black Forest. Dusky sunlight streaks its way down through the canopy above, mottling the forest floor with a golden mosaic. The trees cast long, slender shadows as the sun sinks down, down, down into its celestial slumber. But before it does, let's take a moment to calm the senses with a short wind-down exercise. Tonight's wind-down is an exercise we call noting. It helps to soothe the mind. And once you've learned it, you can even use it if you wake up during the night. We are going to be counting our breaths and then just gently noting thoughts and feelings as they arise. We are not trying to change them. We are simply labeling thinking as thinking, feeling as feeling. It may sound incredibly simple, but it can help to create distance between ourselves and the thought, and ourselves and the feeling, so we don't get so involved in it. That creates a more restful state of mind. In other words, the perfect conditions for gentle, restful sleep. So to begin, just take a moment or two to get comfortable. Make sure you're nice and cool. Just starting with some big, deep breaths, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And with the next out breath, allow the breath to return to its natural rhythm, in and out through the nose, and feeling the weight of the body pressing you down into your bed. And in your own time, starting to count the breaths as they pass. 1 with the rise, 2 with the fall, just up to a count of 10. When you get to 10, you can stop and start again at 1. And remember, anytime you get distracted, the moment you realize you're distracted by thought, simply note it, thinking, and return to the breath. Or, if a feeling arises, note it as feeling and return to the breath. Noting is very gentle, not harsh at all. Think of it like a feather, just gently touching the surface of a crystal glass. I'm going to give you a few moments just to keep counting the breath and noting any thoughts and feelings that arise. That's great. Deep in the bosom of the Black Forest, the trees seem to extend their branches in a tender gesture of welcome. An enveloping sense of Waldeinsamkeit fills the air here, a sense of perfect solitude in the forest. But a whole bustling world of animal life can be heard on the other side of the silence. A gentle hoot hoot pipes up, like a woodwind instrument blown to an unheard beat. A pygmy owl is nestling on a gnarly branch above. This pint-sized bird has emerged from its hiding place to decorate the airwaves with its call. The body of this feathery forest dweller is brown like gingerbread and speckled with tiny, buff white spots. The tail feathers are a few shades darker, something closer to hot chocolate, and banded with slim white stripes like frosting on a tiny cupcake. The bird's white belly, on the other hand, is streaked with brown dashes from its throat down to its toes. Its yellow eyes peer out, bright as two dandelions, wide and watchful. Something must have caught its attention, because now the owl spreads its silent wings and disappears into the forest air. Down on the ground below, animal tracks have indented the soft earth, leaving the outline of two teardrops resting side by side. A deer must have wandered here, leaving behind its hoofprints. Where might its journey have taken it? A little brook trickles its way through the trees, babbling quietly to itself in the stillness, lapping and splashing its way around a trunk that has fallen in its path. This fallen tree beckons every passerby to come, sit, stay a while. A shallow indentation in its back suggests many forest hikers have sat here, wearing the wood away while taking the weight off their weary legs. Though the log is coated in a layer of mint green lichen, it is surprisingly smooth, buffed and burnished by the touch of many hands. A pleasant sense of heaviness starts to spread through every limb. A few moments' rest on this woodland seat are in order. A long, deep breath fills the lungs with cool forest air, with the honeyed scent of sap and soft earth. And all the while, the brook carries on with its quiet trickle. Waters clear as aquamarine, just one of the forest's many generous bounties. Inside the small white chapel, huddled in the heart of the black forest, the central stained glass window is divided into 3 segments. Beginning at the bottom, in the lowermost segment, the summits of a steel blue mountain range point skywards, formed from a mosaic of glassy fragments. In the middle segment stands a slim human figure, clad in wine-red robes and standing impossibly tall on top of the mountains, each foot balanced on a snow-capped peak. So tall is the figure that its willowy body runs right up into the window's topmost segment. Here, its hands are raised in a gesture of peace, and behind the figure's head, glowing in glass green as Eden, the circle of a halo. Who was it that preserved this image in the glass? Who captured it like an amber fossil for future visitors to see? The same light that shines through the window now once shone upon the person who made it. And though years and years may lie between then and now, past and present, the visitors who pass the chapel today are not so very different from the person who melted and cut the glass, glazed and leaded it. Here, in the little white chapel, tucked deep in this pocket of the black forest, it's possible to feel expansively connected to something much bigger and much older than yourself. Your story, and the stories of all the forest dwellers before, interlink like so many shards in a stained glass window, reflecting and refracting the light of a shared human history. The forest path is lit by a lustrous moon, and stars wink through the gaps in the branches above. A short way ahead, just off the path, there's a small clearing in the trees. Something bright and white seems to be gleaming within it, like the smile of a giant or a huge box of pearls. There, cradled in the crook of the clearing, stands a small white chapel, glowing like an orb in the moonlight. Who built this? And how many years ago? The rugged stone walls, cracked and uneven in places, suggest this chapel has lived in this nook of the forest for 200 years or more, standing silent as a stoic through the passing of 200 autumns, winters, springs, and summers. Its apexed roof looks newer, plated with silvery slate tiles, though it now wears a coat of furry green moss. A well-tended trellis, arching over the doorway, suggests the presence of a person who tends to the plant life surrounding the chapel. It isn't the season for flowers, but it's not hard to imagine the flamboyance of color that bends and bows and leaps like a dolphin over the doorway during the warmer months. A small steeple crowns the roof, miniature as a dollhouse chimney, while 1, 2, 3 arched windows are set in the chapel's white stucco walls. 2 are small as portholes and edged in pale pink paint, while the third window, on the back wall of the chapel, displays a splendid stained glass picture. Autumn leaves of lemon yellow and apple red have started to fall, drifting down to the forest floor and laying a soft, thick-piled carpet. Amongst the fallen pine needles, golden linden leaves litter the floor. And there are alder leaves too, and oak leaves. With its 5 rounded lobes, the distinctive silhouette of the oak leaf ripples and curls like cresting waves. The sappy sweet scent of the trees evokes their rich history. This forest first provided shelter for the Alamani tribes hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Great chieftains used to gather here, they say, celebrating the solstice and sharing the warmth of a campfire. How many feet have walked this forest path before? Further footprints have been left in the spongy earth today, yielding to the weight of each visitor, letting them write their own line in the forest story. The interior of the nearby forest chapel is cloaked in midnight blue, deep as the soul of a sapphire. But stealthy moonbeams have crept through the stained glass window, painting a kaleidoscope of color onto the surfaces they touch. A small altar is lit by the colorful light and a kneeling bench. It feels larger in here than one would expect from the outside, though the space is still perfectly compact. It is sparse, but contains all that is needed to instill a perfect sense of serenity, awe even. It is a space that quiets the mind, that stills racing thoughts, that makes any visitor feel wholly and wholesomely grounded in this present moment, as if centered by some great gravitational force. Is that the faint sound of singing, maybe? Like a choir chorusing somewhere in the cosmos, or the swish of a breeze wafting in through the window? Just how many songs have been sung in the chapel's 200 years. A pretty floral pattern has been carved with meticulous care into the wood of the little kneeling bench. Lilies of the valley weave and wind themselves across the wood's surface with their swooping stems and bobbing bell-shaped pendants. But here in the chapel, a few stray autumn leaves scuttle across the floor, silvered by the moonlight, before dancing their way through the puddles of color cast by the stained glass window.